Hello students! I wanted to give you a quick rundown of how to navigate through Canvas, as well as show you a little bit about how you might navigate week by week. So hopefully you've already gone over this welcome page and read the syllabus, netiquette policy, and online schedule. I'm going to show you a little bit of how you might use those tools every week as you go through the work that we're doing. So let's start with one way to navigate through Canvas. I'm going to open up the welcome page in a new window. One way that you can navigate through Canvas is by reading through any given page, completing that assignment, and then clicking this next button. So when you do that, you'll jump to the next page in line. This one is the syllabus. It'll always be updated here. And then next, you can jump to, here's the netiquette policy. Definitely read over this. Know how to have correct online manners since we're in an online course here. Then click next, and now we're to the online schedule. So this you can refer to. I would even recommend you print out the online schedule so that you can keep on track of your work. Essentially, each of these colors indicates a chapter. So purple here is the first chapter in this unit, so Smart Book Chapter 1. So this will be Chapter 1 that we're covering. Then the next one you can see is in blue. There's a red one here because we have no classes that day. You don't need to turn in anything in that day. So Smart Book Chapter 2 is due on this day. And so you know, okay, so this is when about I should probably be starting to read Chapter 2. And then you say, okay, here it changes to a different color. I should probably start reading Chapter 3 about this day. So because you do have the Smart Book assignments are essentially a chapter quiz over the Smart Book. I will show you a little bit of that in a second. Then the fourth chapter in our unit is Chapter 4. In this class for lifespan development, we'll be going in order. If you're in a general class, we're going to be jumping around the book, so make sure you pay attention to which chapter you're supposed to be reading. Lifespan development, pretty easy. We go straight along the lifespan, but in a general psych class, we might jump to Chapter 8, then back to Chapter 4, so on and so forth. So just make sure you're paying attention. And then the unit exam is scheduled for these days. So it'll be open for those days. So that's the online schedule, and this is one way to navigate through Canvas is through these buttons at the bottom. The way I prefer is actually to go to the home to your course, and then you can see everything in line of what it is. So what we just went through was the welcome page. We clicked forward to the syllabus, to the netiquette policy, and the online schedule. If we had clicked next again, it would have jumped to this, the question thesis paper instructions. So I'll have a whole video about how to do that question thesis paper. Don't worry about that right now in this video. Just know that's coming up. Watch that video later. So let's go down to week 1. So let's say we reviewed all the online learning introduction videos, probably took a look at some of these general resources as well, and now we're in week 1. So in week 1, we have lecture slides, which is essentially all the slides that I use in my video lectures that you can review yourself. You can follow along while you're watching the video lectures. You can take notes on them, those kinds of things. It's a good study tool. And there's also the week 1 video lecture. So you can watch me talk about the subjects. I will go over the slides as well as give examples, stories, common questions students have had, things like that. So it'll give you a little more detail than the lecture slides, just reviewing them yourself. And another is the discussion board and the Chapter 1 Smart Book. So let's go back to our online schedule and see what's going to be due when each of the days of the week. So we're here in week 1. We see, okay, so my first thing that's due, well, I should be reading Chapter 1, so because it's purple there. The first thing due is actually the initial discussion board post. So that's due on this day, so let's go check that out. So week 1, all right, discussion board. Here, I can click that. I can go to that page, and I can write a discussion board. So I'll read the instructions here. This first one's pretty easy. You're introducing yourself. It gives you some requirements of how long posts should be, and then how long reply posts should be as well. So make sure you pay attention to that. Most of them in the class are a little shorter, are 200 plus words. So make sure you're having a good long reply. How you will reply to these discussion boards is down here. You'll click here. You can either write your reply here, you can open up a word processor and then copy and paste that material here. Especially for this one, you might want to include a picture of yourself or maybe even a YouTube video or something, or a webcam video if you wanted to do that. So then you can post your reply. And then when you come back, you'll see replies from students. You'll be able to, again, click reply under their reply and reply to them. So that is how you would turn in your discussion board post. So let's see. All right, we did our discussion board post. The next thing is our smart book. So I've been reading the chapter. I finished reading it by Thursday. So let's go to the smart book. Actually, this is how you access the textbook. So you will have had to click this beforehand. So what I see is a little bit different than what you see. When you first click on the smart book, you will actually have to log in to McGraw-Hill with your credentials for Salt Lake Community College. Once you do that, though, you'll be able to click launch, and it will bring you to a page that looks more like this. So this is essentially what you will see. This is your textbook. It's provided for you with your course fees already. You don't have to buy a physical textbook. This is your textbook for the class. So we can start with reading. I had already been on this earlier, so I will show you the very beginning of the book and how you navigate through these smart books. All right, so here is the cover of the textbook, Essentials of Lifespan Development. To go to any given section, just click this right arrow or left arrow, and that will jump you to different sections. So contents, but let's get to chapter 1, because that is what is most important. That is what we are going to be doing. All right, so here's chapter 1. It gives us a little outline. It gives us an initial story to kind of get you thinking about the topics in the chapter. You can scroll down, read through that whole section, and then click over, and here is the next section, the lifespan perspective. So all of the content here is talking about the lifespan perspective, which is this perspective that we use in looking at development of humans. So I read all that section, go over all the graphs, then I can click next to get to the next section. So there's a couple different sections in each chapter, and you'll notice as I'm scrolling through, some of these things are highlighted. We'll talk about those in a minute. So let's say I've read through the entire book or that entire chapter. I get to the summary, I can re-review, and I say, okay, now I am ready to do my questions. So here I have a question. I'm not actually going to answer these questions right now, but you'll put in your answer and you'll see, oh, well, that's obviously incorrect. So I can say, okay, well, I didn't know that question. I can go on to the next question, or I can go back to read that section in the textbook. So let's do that. I got this wrong, so let's go read that section in the textbook. It will jump us back to one of these highlighted sections because that question actually comes from this content right here. So I can say, okay, I reread that. I remember that. I had forgotten that. Maybe I'll take a note on my own notebook or a word processor so I can remember that if it ever comes up on a test. So I think that was a section on culture. So let's say, all right, so the correct answer is culture there. So let's go on to the next question. So we can do it that way. We can read the entire chapter, then we can go through the questions one by one and answer all the questions. If you get some of the questions wrong, that is okay. The grade, the 10 points for each chapter assignment, comes from completing it all. That's really to show me that you did complete the entire reading, that you did the reading of your chapter, that you answered questions. Even if you missed some, that is okay. So that's one way to navigate through the questions. Let's go back to the book. Another way to navigate through these questions is to click the Concepts button. So as you do this, you will jump forward to the next section that a question is on in the book. So there will be a question about the 4 types of age. There will also be a question on this topic right here. There will be another question on theories of development. So any of these highlighted sections are where questions are coming from. So let's go back to our online schedule. All right, I completed my smart book. I did 100% of that smart book on time. Now maybe I should jump forward and start working on my discussion board responses. Answer any questions that students have asked me, ask them questions on the discussion board, and then I can even get started on reading chapter 2. So that is essentially how to navigate around Canvas and do the work for the week. So keep that online schedule in mind. Make sure you're doing things on time. The due dates are posted here in Canvas, so May 23rd, for the final discussion board. The initial discussion board is earlier in the week. It's on Wednesdays almost every week. I think the final week of class it's different, but other than that, it's Wednesdays. And keep track of that schedule. Go through these assignments, complete week 1, and then you can get a start on week 2. So with that, most weeks you will have 1 or 2 chapters to read. So week 2, you'll have 2 and 1 discussion board each week. So with that, you'll also have 2 weeks available to you, so you can work about 1 week ahead in the class. I recommend you stick with the class and go along with us, and email me any questions you have. I hope that helped you know how to navigate through Canvas.